This is the story of how my girlfriend tried to convince me to have an open relationship just to cover up the fact that she was cheating on me the whole time. Hi everyone, I'm Rico, a 29-year-old guy, and I'm going to tell you what happened with my ex-girlfriend Taylor, a 27-year-old woman I dated for almost 3 years. We met at a job interview for the same company. We started chatting while waiting, exchanged contacts afterward, and even though I was sure I'd get the job, I felt really qualified. They hired her instead of me. We stayed in touch anyway. She'd send me job leads and interview tips, and a few months later I landed a good position. That's how we became friends. We were in the same field, but what really drew me to Taylor was her personality, her wit, her sense of humor, and the incredible energy she gave off. I wasn't looking to fall in love when I met her. It just happened. At first I only wanted her number as a professional contact, but over time we got closer, started dating, and were together for nearly 3 years until I discovered something that completely destroyed everything. We even lived together for a year, but then Taylor decided to move back in with her best friend, saying that since we were going to live together after getting married anyway, she wanted to enjoy her last bit of single life with her friend. I didn't see any problem with that and happily gave her the space. She still came to my place most weekends and stayed a few days, so in practice she was splitting her time between the two homes. I'd been hurt badly in a previous serious relationship, so I'd sworn off getting too deep again, until Taylor changed everything. Throughout our relationship I supported her in everything. I encouraged her to take courses, push harder at work, invest in herself. By our second year together I knew I wanted to marry her. She was perfect for me, she knew how to love and take care of me, and we handled everything as a team. The first year we lived together we split all expenses fairly, but once she started splitting her time, that stopped. For anniversaries and her birthdays I always got her things I knew she loved, just to see her happy. Honestly, she was my priority. I sacrificed a lot and did everything I could to keep us both peaceful and content, not out of desperation but because I truly valued what we had. I clearly remember one night, shortly before she moved out, we were watching a movie and out of nowhere she asked my opinion on open relationships. I immediately said that people in open relationships don't truly love each other. She got offended and argued that she knew plenty of open couples who loved each other deeply and that my view was very conservative. I brushed it off and changed the subject. A few days later over dinner she suddenly asked what I thought about us having an open relationship. At first I thought she was joking, but her face was serious. I told her flat out that I'd rather be single than be in an open relationship, and after that she never brought it up again. Neither did I. Even before we officially started dating I'd told her that infidelity and lies were the two things I hated most and that I would never forgive cheating, because my previous ex had destroyed me that way. I repeated it several times so there would be no misunderstanding. That's why I made sure I never gave her any reason to doubt me. Soon after she moved out I noticed changes. She started standing me up on dates. We had a Friday night tradition. Park walks, street food, fancy restaurants, whatever. But since she no longer lived with me, the plan was she'd come to my place and we'd go out. Suddenly she'd keep me waiting for hours, not answer calls, or cancel at the last minute claiming some work emergency popped up or that she thought she'd texted me. I should have seen the red flags, but I'm pretty understanding, so I accepted her excuses and even told her to work less. A year after she moved out we barely saw each other even though we lived in the same city. It felt like a long-distance relationship. Then she got promoted, started traveling a lot with her team, and when she was in town we hardly met. We mostly communicated through WhatsApp. Sometimes she wouldn't even read my messages despite posting stories daily. I finally talked to her best friend, got nothing useful, and then confronted Taylor herself. She blamed work overload. That excuse sounded weak because we were in the same industry and even freelancers with multiple clients had more free time than she claimed to have. Still, after the confrontation she promised to do better, And for 2 months she really did. More calls, quick replies, updates about her day, and weekends at my place again. I was thrilled, things fell back on track. I decided it was time to settle down for good. She'd never brought up marriage, so I figured I should take the lead. I bought an expensive engagement ring and planned to propose the next weekend she came over. That Friday we went to a nice restaurant. I had the ring in my pocket, but something stopped me from popping the question. Later at home during our usual movie night she fell asleep exhausted, so I carried her to bed. When I came back to the living room I noticed her phone had slipped under the couch cushion. I pulled it out to leave it on the table for her, and although we used to have open access to each other's phones early in the relationship, because we had nothing to hide, I resisted the urge to check it at first. Curiosity won. The phone needed her fingerprint. I was too lazy to go wake her, but I did it anyway. What I saw shocked me to my core. First I checked the call log. Besides me and her best friend, there was a contact saved as Poppy, with several calls that same day, including 1 minute before she arrived at my apartment. Her dad was dead and she wasn't close to older relatives, and I knew it wasn't my number because mine was saved normally right above it. I opened WhatsApp. Poppy was pinned at the top with unread messages from while we were at dinner, the exact moment I'd been thinking about proposing. The emojis looked off, so I scrolled up. I discovered Taylor had been having a full affair with her boss. She had told him we were in an open relationship until we got married. Their chat went back months, basically starting right when she first asked me about open relationships. Worse, she had gotten pregnant, aborted, and he compensated her generously, including the promotion. They talked about me too, mocking me. The kicker: it was actually her boss's idea that she start spending weekends with me again so I wouldn't get suspicious. He wanted her busy with me so he could spend more time with his own family because his wife was starting to suspect something. Those 2 good months after our fight? They weren't Taylor trying to fix us. They were her following his instructions. I felt destroyed. I sat on the couch all night, exported the entire chat to myself, marked the last messages unread, and went for a long walk to clear my head. Eventually I came up with a plan inspired by something I'd read on Reddit. The whole weekend I acted normal. The following Tuesday I went to her office, printed dozens of pages of their chat, and while waiting in the lobby I handed copies to everyone. Receptionist, random employees, anyone who walked by. By the time Taylor came out to meet me, half the office was reading them and whispering. One guy even shouted, "I knew it. I told you they were sleeping together." Taylor looked confused, grabbed a copy, realized what it was, threw it away, and tried to hug me crying. She knew HR would fire her and him. I just walked out while everyone stared at her. She chased me to the parking lot begging for an explanation, then showed up barefoot at my apartment later, banging on the door until neighbors came out. I threw the few things she still had at my place out the window and told her to go back to her Poppy. She refused to leave until her best friend came and dragged her away. Since then she's been blowing up my phone and contacting all my friends to plead her case. Part of me still loves her, but I know getting back together would be a disaster. Everything in my apartment reminds me of her, and although I miss the good times, I agreed to meet her one last time next week and I'm really confused about what to do. Has anyone been through something similar? Update 1. Thanks for all the comments and support, especially from those who've lived this nightmare. You're right, someone like her would probably cheat again. Women like that are never satisfied. Anyway, 2 days ago we met in the park as planned. She started crying hysterically the moment she saw me. Once she calmed down, she admitted she never believed in monogamy and thought I was the kind of guy who would eventually accept an open relationship. When I firmly said no, she just did whatever she wanted, assuming I'd never find out. When I asked about the abortion, she sobbed and claimed the baby had actually been mine, but she desperately needed the promotion, so she lied to her boss that it was his. knowing he'd pay her to get rid of it and give her the job and money in exchange. I no longer knew what to believe. She kept begging to get back together like nothing happened. I told her that was impossible. She had ruined her only chance and trust was gone forever. She suddenly flipped, stood up, started screaming insults, saying she'd put up with me for years and the least I could do was stay with her now that she'd lost everything. I later found out she and her boss both got fired, and her best friend knew about the affair the whole time and never told me. That same afternoon Taylor called saying she was coming over the next day and we weren't breaking up until she decided. She scared me. I'd never seen her like that. I told her not to come or I'd call the police. Update 2: she came anyway. I officially ended things. She coldly admitted she didn't regret cheating because it was all for her career and there was nothing wrong with that. That confirmed she would have kept cheating even after marriage. I got so angry I grabbed her arm to get her out. She shoved me hard, I fell and broke my left arm. Then she pulled a huge hammer from her bag and started smashing everything. TV, my new laptop, furniture. I called the police. A neighbor had already called after hearing the noise. Officers arrived while she was still destroying the place, arrested her for assault and vandalism, the push that broke my arm plus all the damage, and I sued her for medical bills and repairs, total almost 16,000 euros. In court she admitted destroying my stuff as revenge for making her lose her job. Now she can't find work in our city because she's been blacklisted everywhere. I'm satisfied that she's finally facing the consequences she deserves. Thank you all for the support. I really appreciate every comment.